We're working through some technical difficulties. We'll be starting in 1 minute. I lied, we were ready. Okay, I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting of April 11, 2022. Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Sensi.
Here.
Mr. Council Magno.
Here.
Mr. Espinal.
Here.
Ms. Flynn.
Here.
Mr. Jenisic.
Here.
Mr. Mowry.
Here.
Mr. Oakes.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Present.
9 members present. At this time, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to turn to chair announcements. An executive session of council was conducted on April 11, 2022, before we came out this evening for legal and personnel issues. At this time, can we turn to the reports of the officials in our library director's report?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Christine. I'm the director of Your Public Library, where we provide opportunities to explore, learn, create, and connect. First, I just want to acknowledge that I have heard frustration from parents, either in the library or through social media, about how quickly our story times are filling up. We do story times twice a day, 5 days a week, and then we do it a couple times on Saturday. But since COVID, we've had to limit the number of participants in story time. Just as a health safety measure, we have increased it once and we will be increasing it again. So we're working on accommodating more children to story time. Please, please be patient. A few fundraisers that the library is involved in. First is Party in the Park. This fundraiser held outdoors at South Park Theater will be on Saturday, April 23rd from 4 to 7 p.m. This fundraiser benefits the Bethel Park Community Foundation, the library, and South Park Theater. Tickets are $40 for adults. Children 12 and under are free, but a child ticket is required just for us to have a head count. Appetizers, wine, beer, and soft drinks are provided with live music from a string quartet, a short live performance from the Children's Theater on the outdoor stage, and the library staff will have children's activities. There will be basket raffles, a 50-50 raffle, and then a ribbon cutting ceremony for the new patio at the theater. Tickets are available in person or online at the library's website, online at South Park Theater's website, or in person at EV's Hardware. We have a number of sponsors, and I'm not going to read them right now. Our pop-up book sale will be hosted on Sunday, May 1st from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. at EV's parking lot. I don't know what I'd do without Andy. All children's books and all paperbacks are $1. Adult hardcover books, games, puzzles, DVDs, and CDs are all $2 a piece. And just a few announcements. The library will be closed on Sunday, April 17th for the Easter holiday. And then the library will be closed on Sunday, April 24th for a computer software upgrade for our integrated library system. There are so many classes and events going on. To stay up to date, you can visit the library's website at bethelparklibrary.org or sign up for our monthly e-newsletter. That is all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. If we can turn to the police chief's report from Chief O'Connor.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Got something here in my pocket. Anybody tell me what this is? This little gadget? Dr. Campbell can't
I
tell
can't
me.
see. I don't have my
Well, that's
glasses
good.
on here.
Don't put your
Come on.
glasses-
Narcan?
No,
Narcan.
Narcan. This is a life-saving tool.
Nasal Narcan.
Nasal Narcan. It gets sprayed up people's noses. Unfortunately, we're off to an ominous start this year with overdoses, including fatalities. I think we've had, at least on 7 occasions through the first quarter, we've had to use this. And now, because the fentanyl is so potent, 1 dose isn't revising people. We're using it twice. One guy we had to use 4 times. They cost $100 a piece. We'll use it 10 times if we have to, because you can't put a price on human life. So what we're going to do on Monday, May the 2nd, at our Crime Watch meeting at the community center, if you want to turn out, we are going to introduce the new detective who's going to be our drug task force coordinator, Detective Poling. You can meet him. And I'm going to give a talk on the opioid crisis, the heroin, fentanyl, how it is affecting Bethel Park, and how it's affecting beyond Bethel Park. I consider myself, unfortunately, somewhat of an expert in this. I've been dealing with this nonsense for 40 years. But we are at full strength now, thanks to council. We're at full strength, and we're going to go after this drug dealing scum. The empire is about to strike back. Ciao. Questions?
No questions for you, sir. At this time, we turn to the fire chief's report.
Good evening, council. Good evening, residents of Bethel Park. My name is Rob Usselman. I am the assistant chief with the Bethel Park Volunteer Fire Company. I'm going to start off with our March fire incident report. So for the month of March, we had 51 calls. We had 4 structure fires, 2 cooking fires, 1 vehicle fire, 1 dumpster fire, 1 gas leak, 3 power lines down, 4 electric problems, 1 assist police with traffic, 11 dispatch and canceled en route, we like those, 3 smoke scares, 19 fire alarms, and 1 CO alarm. So it is almost that time, the weather's finally breaking, that grilling season is getting close. One thing we like to remind residents is never leave a lit grill unattended. Very dangerous. We've seen many fires start when a grill's unattended. So please, whenever you start grilling, make sure someone's near that grill at all times. And that's with any time you're cooking, whether it's inside the kitchen or outside. Always use long handle grilling utensils and heat resistance oven mitts to avoid exposure to burns from heat and flames. The grill itself gets pretty hot, so treat it very carefully. Periodically remove grease that builds up in traps or in the grill itself. Obviously not while it's hot, wait till it cools down. And keep a garden hose nearby, connected and ready to use in case of a fire. And if you do have a fire, call the fire department. That's what we're here for. That is all I have this evening.
Any questions from council? Thank you very much. If we can now turn to the municipal manager's report and Mr. Christian.
Members of council, Mayor Allen, thank you so much. Just want to give a quick update in a few areas. Municipalities beginning a new park event program this year called Park and Play. So each month, the municipality will be hosting at one of our municipal parks or areas. The goal of this program is to get our residents out to our parks and have fun while showcasing the variety the parks have to offer. Our first event, Yoga and Exercise in the Park, will be Saturday, May 21st at Park Avenue. We'll hope to see you there. We'll have the remaining park projects on our website and out through social media, along with a flyer out very shortly. Kind of wanted to do some highlight. I want to thank 3 of our council members. We had Lindsay Flynn, David Esmar, and Joe Janisic at the Seven Springs Conference, where they represented the municipality in accepting the Banner Community 2020 Award named by the Allegheny League of Municipalities and presented by County Executive Rich Fitzgerald. The Banner Community Program recognizes communities that show a commitment to professional development, a prudent fiscal management, transparency, accountability, and proactive communications to engage community stakeholders. We received this designation multiple years now, and we are one of only 80 communities recognized this year alone. And finally, want to highlight again our No Cook Tuesday. I know the mayor is probably going to talk about that one, but again we have Hoshi and Cousins Maine Lobster coming in tomorrow on that one. That's all I have, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. At this time, we turn to the mayor's report. Mayor Allen. It's got to be there early.
Very early.
3:30.
Well, like last month, I missed it by a day. I said, I remember that one. Okay, I just have a couple things this evening. I want to mention that we have our spring cleanup, which is April 23rd. If you have a group or yourself, you need to call Janet at 831-6800, extension 211. There are some people that can do it, but can't do it on that particular day. So we'll work with you that way too. So if it takes 2 different weekends to do it, we'll get that done. Our farmers market actually starts on May 3rd.
at South Park in the parking lot next to the skating rink. And the reason I mention it now is because our next meeting will be May 9th, I believe, and we'll already missed one farmer's market, so I want to get out there. Last year, our farmer's market ended up number 2 in the county. This year, we're going to try to push it to number 1. And well, not finally, but the next thing is, I wanted to give out a big thank you to our community center director, Kathy Moscato, who's going to be retiring at the end of this month after 19 years of service. So if she's watching, thank you for the 19 years that you've given us. And then finally, I'm going to do a proclamation for Arbor Day. So if I can call up Brian. And Brian will bring the rest of the Shade Tree Commission up, and I'll go over the proclamation, and then Brian will tell us exactly what's in store for us from the Shade Tree Commission. Okay, so I'm going to read it's not everybody, but is that everybody? Okay, all right. Well, we're doing this for Arbor Day because it helps our group that we have up here to apply for things, and that's why we need a proclamation. But whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas trees are a renewable source of giving us paper, wood for our home, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Now therefore, I, Mayor of the Municipality of Bethel Park, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the Municipality of Bethel Park. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden their heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated the 11th day of April, 2022. So Brian, I wanted to present that to you. As you can see, the print's very small, so, so we cheated a little bit. So I'll give you that.
Okay, thank you very much.
And then just tell us what you got. Thank you.
On behalf of the Shade Tree Commission, we appreciate the municipality of Bethel Park recognizing April 29th as Arbor Day in Bethel Park. This is part of the process for Bethel Park to become a member of the Tree City USA program. By being part of Tree City USA, we are not only beautifying our community, but also improving our stormwater management to mitigate flooding in low-lying areas. The commission is made up, the Shade Tree Commission started in Bethel Park in 2017 and consists of 7 members who are appointed by council. Currently our members are Greg Arments, my vice chairman, Pam Dobos is our secretary, members Brian Juice and also Jim Jenkins, and our newest member within the past couple of months is Elizabeth Webb. And from council we have Dave Espinar. We miss you greatly, sir. He's a former Shade Tree Committee member, and also Tim Mowry. So we thank you. Shade Tree Commission was started in 2017. In 2019, we did our first tree planting event of 20 maple trees over at Neil Armstrong Middle School. This was provided by generous donation from a resident of Bethel Park and in coordination with Bethel Park School District, used as an educational system tool to teach the kids about trees and how to beautify their community. In 2020, we contracted out the Davey Tree Expert Company to perform a tree inventory of the trees on municipal property in the parks. This tool is greatly needed for the Tree City USA program, but also gives us a chance to know exactly what we have in our parks and on our municipal property.
Through it, we were able to recognize trees that needed to be maintained. And in the past year or so, Public Works has been going through removing some of the ones that needed to be removed. So in 2021, we joined forces with Treat Pittsburgh. Treat Pittsburgh is an organization from the city that helps communities in the Allegheny County and Western PA area, enhancing the community by encouraging tree planting programs. They're one program, one tree per child. We were able to institute here in Bethel Park. They're again working with the school district. We were able to get students involved, and we planted over 400 tree saplings, not only at Neil Armstrong Middle School, but also Memorial Elementary, up at Independence Middle School, and then also at Millennium Park. We will again be celebrating Arbor Day this year on April 29th, Friday. We encourage residents to join us at 10 a.m. to come down and help us plant our next batch of trees that we want to put in. This is through a generous grant from the Bethel Park Upper St. Clair Breakfast Rotary, is that correct? And also with help and guidance from the municipality. So grab a shovel, bring some gloves, and we'll have everything else down there. Come out and help us plant some trees on that day. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Okay.
I'll tell you, as an organization, it's really been together for less than 5 years. I mean, you guys have done a terrific job, so keep up the work. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. At this time, I'd like to turn to approval of the minutes, and Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. March 14, 2022, regular council meeting. I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. O'Brien and second by Dr. Campbell that we approve the minutes of the March 14, 2022 regular council meeting. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Mr. Espinard,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Janicic,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. O'Brien.
2/28/22, public hearing minutes, Linwood Street vacation. I move that we approve the minutes for this public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. O'Brien and second by Dr. Campbell that we approve the minutes for the public hearing of 2/28/22. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Mr. Espinard,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Janicic,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Oakes,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. O'Brien.
2/28/22, public hearing minutes for Millennium Drive grading. I move that we approve the minutes for the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. O'Brien and second by Dr. Campbell that we approve the minutes for the public hearing of 2/28/22. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Mr. Espinard,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Janicic,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Oakes,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. O'Brien.
March 14th, 2022, public hearing minutes, Lindemeyer Street vacation. I move that we approve the minutes for this public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. O'Brien and second by Dr. Campbell that we approve the minutes for the public hearing of March 14th, 2022. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Espinard. My eyes just went out on me. My apologies. Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Janicic,
Yes.
Mr. Mowry,
Yes.
Mr. Oakes,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the approvals of the bills and payroll, and Mr. O'Brien.
I move that we approve bill list 041122 in the amount of $1,580,288.59.
Second.
A motion by Mr. O'Brien and second by Dr. Campbell that we approve bill list number 041122 and the amount of $1,580,288.59. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. At this time, I'd like to turn to the resident comments section for non-agenda items. Hearing none, if we can turn to general policy and finance, and Dr. Campbell, and we have no residents signed up to speak.
All right, Mr. President, I have a number of items under general policy and finance. First is a resolution for the disposition of records. I move that we approve Bill List resolution number R41122A for the disposition of records per the list attached.
Second.
There's a motion by Dr. Campbell, second by Mr. Oakes, that we approve resolution number R4-11-22A for the disposition of records per the attached, per the list attached. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. President,
Dr. Campbell.
we have a mountain of paperwork. You know, it's been collecting in the basement for years and years and years in various forms, and we're trying to get rid of some of the more cumbersome records and just kind of transition to digitalize records as much as we can. Some of these records date back 42 years, personnel records for the police, believe it or not, nasal screenings and asset books from 20 years ago. So we're following the admonitions that we've had previously placed from one of the acts, I think it was 1968 or 86, on the disposition of these records. And this is just us to remain compliant with kind of cleaning house, getting rid of the expired forms and keeping the ones that we need to keep.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Any discussion of this item? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Dr. Campbell.
We have a number of appointments for boards, authorities, and commissions through the municipality, and I'm going to run through a series of those. Early in the year, we're quite busy with a number of these to fill the appointments that are available, or the absent places that are available. I move that we appoint Kelly Kuhn to the Parks and Recreation Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2024.
Second.
There's a motion by Dr. Campbell, second by Ms. Flynn, that we appoint Kelly Kuhn to the Parks Recreation Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. O'Brien.
we had some really outstanding candidates for only one position, and this was a very, very difficult choice. So I just want to thank everyone who applied and keep applying. This town never ceases to amaze me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Brien. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Dr. Campbell.
I move that we appoint Keith Hoppy to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2025.
Second.
There's a motion by Dr. Campbell, second by Ms. Flynn, that we appoint Keith Hoppy to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2025. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Dr. Campbell.
I move that we appoint Michelle DiCarlo as an alternate member of the Shade Tree Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2024.
Second.
There's a motion by Dr. Campbell, second by Ms. Flynn, that we appoint Michelle DiCarlo as an alternate member of the Shade Tree Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Any discussion of this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinard.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janicic.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0, and we have another member to the Shade Tree Commission. We'll have to let them know on the 29th to show up. As a new member, they need to show up at 9 o'clock to get everything ready. The rest of us show up. Anyhow, sorry. Dr. Campbell.
I move that we correct the term of Dan Duff, who was appointed as an alternate member of the Zoning Hearing Board. The correct term expiration for Mr. Duff is December 31st, 2024.
Second.
There's a motion by Dr. Campbell, second by Ms. Flynn, that we correct the term of Dan Duff, who was appointed as an alternate member of the Zoning Hearing Board. The corrected term expiration for Mr. Duff is December 31st, 2024. Any discussion of this item? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinara.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janasek.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Dr. Campbell.
I have no other items under General Policy and Finance, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Are there any additional items? Hearing none, can we turn to Health, Safety, and Welfare, and Mr. Sensei?
Mr. Mowry, I have no items under Health, Safety, and Welfare.
Are there any additional items? I'll just bring up one. I know I worked with Mr. Janisak to get some notifications out. The Highland Road Bridge, there's going to be a lengthy repair. It's not going to have any closures at this point. It's just going to have some lane restrictions. It could start sometime this week, and I think they awarded the contract, and they're doing multiple projects, and the contract runs through September, October. There'll be some restrictions in the width of the bridge, in the traffic lanes, but there will be no detours. The municipality actually owns the deck. The Port Authority owns the underneath. We did a evaluation of that a couple years ago, and they put it on their list, so they're gonna be doing some renovations of that bridge. They are gonna be replacing the stairs going down to the T-stops, and there will be detours marked as they do each side of it. So we'll keep everybody apprised on the project, both Mr. Janisak and I. Thank you. At this time, could we turn to Planning and Zoning and Mr. Janisak?
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. I have a few items tonight. The first one is a resolution to apply for an Act 152 Blighted Homes Grant. I move that we approve resolution number R4-11-22B and resolution number R4-11-22C per the grant writer's memorandum dated March 23rd, 2022.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Janisak and second by Mr. Oakes that we approve resolution number R4-11-22B and resolution number R4-11-22C per the grant writer's memorandum dated March 23rd, 2022. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Janisak.
Yeah, I just wanted to say there's 3 properties on here, and I don't know about the other 2, but for the one that's in my ward, it's a dangerous place. This is a public safety issue, and I'm really glad that we're able to do this. According to the memorandum, we didn't put any money aside for it, but we can apply for this grant to help pay for these items, and we get priority if we put a little bit of money towards it. So the municipality ponied up, I think it's like $5,000 for a $50,000 job. The grant would be for $45,000 to help do this. And this is all part of the long slog to get these properties back on the tax roll. It'll probably still be a few years, but you know, at least it'll be safe for now for all 3 of these properties. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Janisak. Any additional comments? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinara.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janasik.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Janisak.
Thank you, Mr. Mowry. I move that we approve ordinance number 4-11-22 to vacate a portion of Lindermer Street.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Janisak, second by Mr. Oakes, that we approve ordinance number 4-11-20 to vacate a portion of Lindemer Street. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. Mowry?
Mr. Janisak.
I just want to mention, this is part of the larger development at the corner of 88 and Broughton. We'll be talking about another item here down the list. It's across from Brewster's there, previously discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Janisak. Any additional comments? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Council Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinara.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janasik.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oakes.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Janusik.
Next on the list is the Parkside Center bond release number 3. I move that we approve the third bond release in the amount of $130,658.00 per the municipal planner's memorandum dated April 4th, 2022.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Janusik, second by Mr. Oaks, that we approve the third bond release in the amount of $130,650.00 per the municipal planner's memorandum dated April 4th, 2022. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Janusik.
This Parkside Center is the place, is the area behind Papa John's at the intersection where South Park Road and the entrance to South Park. And hopefully we can start seeing some businesses going in there. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Janusik. Any additional comments? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Consolmagno.
Yes.
Mr. Respinar.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janusik.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oaks.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Janusik.
Next item, application number 2021-1071, Library Road Major Land Development. Going to take a deep breath here. I move that we approve application number 2021-1071 contingent on the applicant meeting the following conditions: satisfactorily address Gateway Engineers and Allegheny County comments, provide financial security estimate to be reviewed and approved by Gateway Engineers, enter into a development agreement with the municipality of Bethel Park, provide site plan with approved recording signature blocks for recording, and obtain DEP PMC sewage facilities planning module approval.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Janusik, second by Mr. Oaks, that we approve application number 2021-1071 contingent on the applicant meets the following conditions: satisfactorily address Gateway Engineer and Allegheny County comments, provide financial security estimate to be reviewed and approved by Gateway Engineers, enter into a developer's agreement with the municipality, provide site plan with approved recording signature blocks for recording, and obtain the DEP PMC sewage facilities planning module approved. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Janusik.
Yep, so this is just an idea for anyone who ever wants to do a major development in Bethel Park. You really have to go through a lot. You have to make sure you do it right. They got multiple variances from the zoning and hearing board where I used to serve. I was at the meeting. They got the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. They went through everything they needed to do, and that's how it works in Bethel Park. And I just, this is a good example of that, so I wanted to point it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Janusik. Any additional comments? Hearing none, Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Consolmagno.
Yes.
Mr. Respinar.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janusik.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oaks.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Janusik.
Last item for planning and zoning, application number 2021-0529, Bethel Park Shopping Center, final major subdivision, reapproval of plats. I move that we reapprove the updated final plats per the municipal planner's memorandum dated March 24th, 2022.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Janusik and seconded by Mr. Oaks that we reapprove the updated final plats per municipal planner's memorandum dated March 24th, 2022. Any discussion of this item?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Janusik.
So this is the area at the front of the Walmart, Giant Eagle, Bethel Park Shopping Center. And this was before my time, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the Chase Bank and the upcoming Popeyes restaurant. So just for everyone there, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's not us holding them up, just so you know. Popeye's got their building
It's
permit.
on its way still, I promise.
We're not sure when it's going to start, but they did receive a building permit. Any additional discussion on this item? Mr. Christian, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Consolmagno.
Yes.
Mr. Espinar.
Yes.
Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janusik.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oaks.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Janusik.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You and Dr. Campbell have everything going on and spend a lot of money.
At least it's not Consul Magno anymore.
This is true. Oh, we better move on. Okay, hearing that, we turn to Public Works and Maintenance and Mr. Consul Magno.
Mr. Meyer, we have one item and one item only tonight. Equipment trailer purchase. I move that we approve the purchase of a equipment trailer in the amount of $16,500 per the Public Work Director's memorandum dated March 24th, 2022.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Consul Magno, second by Ms. Flynn, that we approve the purchase of equipment trailer in the amount of $16,500 per the Public Works Director memorandum dated March 24th, 2022. After last month, Mr. Consul Magno, I didn't think we had any money left to spend.
You're a wise guy.
Are there any additional comments? Hearing none, Mr. Christie, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Sensi.
Yes.
Mr. Consul Magno.
Yes.
Mr. Espadar. Yes. Ms. Flynn.
Yes.
Mr. Janisick.
Yes.
Mr. Mowry.
Yes.
Mr. Oaks.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Consul Magno.
We have no other items, and I wish to make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Good night, everybody.